go to Canberra now and catch up with the Liberal MP for the Sydney seat of Mackellar, Jason Falinski. Good to talk to you, Jason.
Great to be here. Thanks, Chris.
Are you impatient with your Nationals colleagues? It seems like you're waiting to announce your net zero policy because the Nats haven't signed off on it.
Mate, I'm never impatient with my national colleagues, and if I were, they would say it's fair retribution for all the times I've made them impatient. So, look, we live in a democracy. The Liberal Party and the National Party are democratic organisations. That means everyone gets to represent their communities. That's what they should do. That's what we're doing. And if it takes a little bit longer than people at the ABC would like, then that's how it is.
So did the Labor Party take the right climate goals to the last election?
I think the Labor Party did not take the right climate goals to the last election. I think the goals that they took were economy wrecking, as the BCA said at the time. They had no plan to back it up. They had no idea how to get there. It was a media release. It was the headline of a media release, and they didn't even have enough words to put on a single page. And that's what they got done for, and rightfully so.
But the coalition has no idea how to get there either. Even the International Energy Agency says half of the reductions are going to have to come from technology that doesn't yet exist. Well,
I don't quite think that's what the IEA says, but...
Well, hang on. No, you can't just... They're very clear. The IEA says that almost half of the reductions by 2050 will have to come from technologies that are currently in demonstration or prototype phase.
I think that, the technology... So I would say to you humbly that the technologies exist, they haven't been commercialised yet. And that's things like mainly carbon capture and storage, small SMRs, so small modular reactors for nuclear energy.
Yeah, well, the coalition's ruled it out. You've ruled out nuclear for Australia.
Well, at the moment, we've ruled out the current type of nuclear energy that we have. There are a number of people, in fact, I would say a majority of people in the party room would believe that I'm a member of the Friends of Nuclear Energy that is convened by David Gillespie. And we would say to you that that is something that we should actually investigate. That is something that should definitely be on the table for Australia's energy mix moving forward. SMRs will become commercially viable towards the end of this decade, maybe by the middle of the next decade. And as the IEA makes the point over and over again, carbon capture and storage, SMRs, nuclear reactors, in a global sense, will be a critical cornerstone to us getting to net zero by 2050. So when you say the technology doesn't exist, I guess the point of difference I would have is that it does exist, but we're not at the point yet where they're commercially viable.
Well, it's a big change if you're prepared to use nuclear. That is emissions-free, reliable technology that does exist, but both major parties continue to rule that out in this country. Carbon capture and storage sounds great, but nobody's been able to pull that off yet.
Well, there are a number of plants up and running. The Swiss opened one in Iceland, which is certainly the first commercially deployed one, that is the first, I think, of huge development in this area. It'll be massive if when that becomes available. There's a lot of money going into CCS globally. CCS is something that when you talk to people in North America and Europe about climate ambitions is, in the top 1, 2 or 3 of their tools that they intend to use to make sure that we get to net zero. It only seems to be in this country where the left is opposed to technology to achieving those outcomes and wants to rely entirely on taxes to achieve those outcomes. So the federal government, the Liberal Party, the National Party, are committed to a technology not taxes solution, and CCS plays a critical part of that plan moving towards 2050.
Does that mean that you're going to subsidise electric cars and steal my weekend?
I would never steal your weekend, mostly because I quite like coming on this show. But also, I think when it comes to electric vehicles, look, I'm in the camp that says very strongly that we have no reason to subsidise electric vehicles. The reason I say that is because the market will determine that people will buy electric vehicles of their own volition. We don't want to mandate changes. We want to give people choices, so choices over mandates. The one thing where I would humbly suggest that we could make moves towards electric vehicles is by having a carve out in the luxury car tax, so that the luxury car tax wouldn't apply to electric vehicles.
Yeah, just scrap it for all luxury cars. Why discriminate? Thanks for joining us, Jason. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Chris.
Jason Falinski there on where the coalition is heading on net zero by 2050.